I feel like it's way easier to make something dark and gloomy. Because I came from a theater background, I think I look at film in a little bit like that. You also, and in terms of acting and what you can get out of your characters, I really like working with other actors as well, because they bring a different perspective on things. Otherwise, it just stays with me and they do everything that I already had in mind. And I really like this collaboration aspect of it. But also just, if you look at the films I made, they're not, they don't have crazy camera moves, and you're not like, it's not documentary, it's very static, very much like, you know, seen from one perspective or observant. And often the set changes you see are, like in Edmond, they are actually physical set changes, like really in a theater. What I saw, what comes at you as a kid, it's like Disney, you know, and some, I mean, Patamat, also really loved Patamat. I loved Patamat. But so that was the only thing that I was really like, oh, this is cool, but nothing for adults. So when I first saw that, I think my theory teacher probably had a hang to show these kind of animations, and I was like, wow, it just blew my mind. I was thinking, oh, you can tell these absurd. I think there's more absurd stuff happening in Eastern Europe, I think, and a bit of grittiness. There was a grittiness to it. It wasn't perfect. It was, and also the use, like Jan Swankemeyer, of course, like the use of all different materials was really interesting. It didn't have to all be like drawn neatly on, you know, cell animation. No, it's like you can use a cow's tongue, and you can use like cutlery or whatever. Like, I thought it was freeing. Yeah, and then the live action. I think actually the live action gives me documentary and live action fiction stuff. That gives me often inspiration for ideas. Like, and I think the early animations, they're kind of made me see that this can be my medium. But actually, the most inspiration I still get from the theater, from live action and documentary. And I think it's because there's a bit of distance. So you can interpret it. You have ways of interpreting yourself, translating it to your own style. The drawing is just a great way to start, because you can do it on your own in your bedroom. And it was like the first way to get it out, like to show what I had in my mind. And it was really clear I did it all in my bedroom, my first film. But I just had a longing, and I think it's this love for like theater and film, that I love this texture and the lighting and stuff that you get with it. I felt, but I needed more people for it to make it look good. It's beautiful in the light. It's the texture. I think it's another way of telling a story. Like, you can use it, and like with Edmond, like I use it to make him literally like softer, like not just visually, but also as a person. It was about a cannibal, and you want to make him likable, and by making him soft, it's like this. Yeah, it's just another tool in your toolbox. And I think this is so beautiful about animation, that you can use the material as another way of telling your story, or another tool. I like the material, I like using it, and it's what I also like is that you can mess it up and you can just needle felt it back. You can repair it. With this film, like Wonder to Wonder, basically here's the puppet. With this one, I basically needed them to look like quite realistic, because they are animated in a real world, right? So they also, there's a live action character that they play with, and they have to feel like they're of the same universe. So I was kind of bound to making it with a different like material. So basically, they had to be 3D printed, the faces, to get the expression, but also this is like silicone, and it's not something you can repair, which really frustrated me. With the felt, if something breaks, you just needle felt it back together. But with this, it's like, okay, now we have to send it back to wherever it came from, you know, from P3 animation puppets, and then they have to repair it for a few days, and then so the whole project is still. So because they're supposed to be like miniature people, and they are in a big world. They're in a life-size world, so they have to look good on a chair, for instance. And we didn't want to make the chairs huge, so they had to be of a certain size. So because if you imagine a normal stop motion puppet is often more like this, which would have made it so much easier. But that wasn't really possible because it would look like, you know, small babies walking around the space or something. Like the scale wasn't right. Because imagine if you have a close-up of this puppet, it has to look good on a big screen. Right, yeah. Like it's going to be blown up like huge. And that was like, so the intricacies of this 3D printing, like you can see here, this looks very freaky when you take it off. There's like little teeth and a little tongue and everything. Oh, God. And that is something you need it when you do a close-up. But it was also hard to animate through this mask, of course. Oh, yeah. And we had to make the mouth big so you can take the mouth on and off. We were looking for the right printer for really long that can print this size and also print in color, because the color needed to stay on the puppet in the right place. So we found at some point in Belgium like a printer that just did factory parts. And they were really not used to animation, and they were willing to help us. But I saw that they had the printer, the PolyJet, that Leica uses. So I was like, please, please. But then every time we needed a mouth, a different mouth, we had to wait because they're so small. They were not going to put the whole printer on just for these faces. So they are so small that they had to wait for other factory parts to be printed, and then we could sneak one in. So it was just, the process is just really, it was really not used, it was not very good because we had to wait all the time. So the puppet making all by itself took like probably 5 months or something. It was great to make a film about like an animated series, and they were animated, and it was like a kind of a Russian doll effect. The flashbacks, it's such a strong tool to use, and I often find it the filmmaker forces the audience too much with a flashback. But when it's like almost part of it, then I think it's okay. So I have a strict rule for this in my head, but it forces you to go in different directions, which I think is nice. And when we found this for Wonder to Wonder, when we found this idea of, oh, they can be recording themselves over the top of old videotapes, that was really nice because it it unlocked the story in some ways, because we could show all these things, but yeah, not be too traditional about it. And what I also liked is that it made us, how do you say, like it's kind of shows these vignettes almost. So there's like, I don't know if that's a good explanation, but there's these moments in time you see. When they turn the camera on, that's what you see. But what happened before then and after that is kind of for the audience to fill in. And I like that because it makes the story bigger in some ways, because you have to think, but what happened in between and what did they... And I really like that I hand the audience a bit of this to do. I have 2 feature films in the making. One of them is a bit further ahead. It's actually a family film. It's completely stop motion. It's about the 2 pigeons in Amsterdam, 2 old city pigeons in Amsterdam, and it's a musical. So it's very different from what I've done, and I'm really excited to make challenge. I've never made something for family so that kids also can watch it. I really want to make it for the whole family, so that the parents are happy to watch it just as much as the kids. But it's a challenge because the kids are actually, to make something for kids, it's super hard. I got so inspired when I was a kid watching certain animations, and just the idea that this film could be part of this really formative time for a kid is like, it's like kind of the top, you know, but it has to be my kind of world. So it has to, so it's a challenge, but it's going to be made all out of surplus materials, which is really nice. The puppets are made out of bits of fabric, which is, I think, translates really well to feathers, you know, for the birds. You can make a really haggard looking pigeon, like dirt, like kind of rough bits of cotton and stuff, but also a really silky, smooth, beautiful looking bird with the iridescent necks and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. And then the other film is live action combined with stop motion, like a bit like Wonder to Wonder. And it takes place on a cruise ship. And it comes from like my own story when I was 6 years old. I was on a cruise ship with my mom. She was an entertainer, and I was the only child with a boat full of adults. And this was like a budget cruise ship. It was a bit make-believe. Like it looked really fancy. The buffets looked fancy, but actually they were cutting. I was obsessed with the dinner buffet, and this will definitely be in the film. But it's like, I love that they cut everything to happy animals, like a cucumber as a flower, or like there was this shrimp tree, and it's kind of disgusting, but it's kind of happy. There's this kind of fakeness to it, and I think they were cutting more and more shapes out of the fruit and the vegetables, because they actually became not so good quality. And this is going to be stop motion. It's going to be for adults, very much so, and it's going to have all these layers of in the kind of animals on board. The pests, like the rats and stuff, and even bacteria, and the humans on board. So yeah, I'm very excited. I'm just writing that now.